It's the Mitch Walker Show. 1 solid hour of racing and nothing but racing. Direct from the drivers, track owners, promoters, and team members. Interesting topics and compelling guests with a touch of attitude. And now the guy with the best mustache east of the Mississippi, Mitch the Dr. Walker.
Good evening. It is the Mitch Walker Show. And man, I tell you what, we've had a rough weekend, but we're going to shift gears and we're going to have a good time. There is a couple of guests that we've got coming on tonight, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But I tell you what, let's do. Let's go back and do it like we do it every Monday night with our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We kind of have a surprise situation going here on our first guest. I'm going to have one of the Farrows, who are the promoters up at Brainerd Motorsports Park, my new Saturday night home. We're going to have either Amy or Steven on. Not sure yet which one, but we're going to have one of them on here. And we're going to talk a little drag racing and what it's like to run a drag strip as opposed to a dirt track. We've had a few dirt track promoters on. And in the second half of the show, we're going to bring my buddy Chuck Becker in for a round robin, I guess you could call it. We can call it anything. We've got a couple of topics that we're going to touch on, and the rest of it will just be wide open. I do want to ask you, if you will, please, to take and keep Mike Head and Leon Sells in your prayers. They have been doing a lot of struggling, I'll put it that way, health-wise, the past few weeks. And I know that I seen Mike Head's daughter had posted that her dad was losing feeling in parts of his leg. So keep Mike Head the head man, keep him in your prayers, and keep the Petty family in your prayers. I know Richard Petty has taken a lot of grief over the past few weeks with the Bubba Wallace thing, but he lost his brother, Maurice, and we'll be talking about Maurice just a little bit later in the show. I've got a really good article that I found that I want to read talking about Maurice. So keep that in your prayers. It's tough losing somebody, especially a family member, a brother that you have been side by side through thick and thin with, like Richard and Maurice have. And to see him go into the Hall of Fame this year was pretty special. I know there's lots of things that over time people just seem to kind of forget, but Maurice Petty was one of the great engine builders that we've ever had. But keep him in your prayers. And we're going to be talking a little bit about some Twitter wars that have been going on. We had one with Corey LaJoie and Denny Hamlin here a couple of weeks ago. Well, there's another one out there with Joe Graff Jr. and Jesse Little that has escalated pretty much too. So keep it tuned in here. We're gonna be revved up and rocking and rolling here in just a few minutes. But I'm looking forward to tonight's show. Changing gears, talking a little drag racing, and then get my buddy Chuck Becker on a little bit later to just talk racing. So sit tight, don't go nowhere. It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker, and they call me the Doctor, and you'll find me exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Motorsports Sales Professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park. You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsport. Performance Motorsports Network.
It's the Mitch Walker Show. If you need a lot of BS and fluff, go watch NASCAR on Fox. Wait a minute. That's Fox Sports 1. Something you probably don't get with your basic cable. Now back to the doctor.
All right, welcome back. You know, it's always fun when you have guests that you know and that you've talked to in person. Well, tonight I'm tickled to have my let's say my Saturday night boss, Miss Amy Farrow, in. Amy is let's get this right. She's a racer, a promoter, a mother, and a wife. Man, she wears a bunch of hats. Amy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, Mitch. How are you?
Man, I tell you, I'm finding a frog hair split 3 ways and sanded. We just having a big time.
Good. Sounds like some fun tonight.
Oh, it's always fun. And I hate to say this, it's going to be more fun than we had Saturday night. That really sucked.
Yeah, it did. Well,
for those
for a
of you
while
that wasn't there, we had a small storm kind of come rolling close to the racetrack, and we were sitting there, and all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I see this big old flash. It was like a bolt of lightning. And I'm like, wow. And I sit there, and for a second or two, I started smelling something. I'm like, what is that smell? And I turned around and looked, and it was the amplifier. About that time, my son walked in and said, "Hey, Dad, the PA's not working." I'm like, well, I had this happen before, but
yeah.
We'll
Makes sense now.
We'll get things fixed and going again, won't we?
Yeah, yep. We had somebody out there to look at it today, so hopefully we can have it up and running by the weekend. It's kind of difficult to run a racetrack without a PA system.
Oh yeah, it's I've tried it a couple of times, and it sucks. But now, Amy, yeah. I got to ask you. You know, we're in so many different hats as a promoter, a racer, a mom, a wife. How do you find time to balance all of it?
Oh, I don't know, Mitch. It's definitely a struggle some days. Luckily, I was able to quit my day job. I was a service writer at a Ford dealership here locally in Chattanooga for 15 years, and when the drag strip kind of got laid in our lap, I had to. I mean, there's no way I could have done it. So it's a struggle some days, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I can have my kids with me when I go to work, whereas going to a regular 9 to 5 or what I was working 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I missed out on a lot of my daughter's life. So it does get complicated sometimes, but you got to figure out how to multitask. And running a racetrack, you learn how to multitask. So I just have to carry that into my everyday life. And there's days that I can take them to the swimming pool and enjoy the day, and then there's days where we got to cram in 15 different things. So it all balances out in the end.
Now, I got to ask this. I mean, like I told you, we're all over the place, but what got you started in drag racing?
What got me started in drag racing? Steve, my husband. That's when he got me driving. That's how we met. Was drag racing. I had 2 drag cars before me and him started dating and got married, but I never drove them. Had other people drive them, and then got rid of them. Me and Steven got married. He decided one day he's going to buy me a dragster, and I guess in 2015 I started driving it, and in 2017 we got the racetrack. Now Steven, he's been around, he's been drag racing since he was probably 15 years old. But yeah, he more or less got me into racing. Now my daughter races, and me and him race when we can. Having the racetrack, it's hard to do sometimes, but we do it when we can.
Well, I got to talk to Steven's dad Saturday, and he walked up and introduced himself, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I tried to get him to tell me some stories on Steven, but he wouldn't do it.
Oh, he's probably got a bunch to tell, I'm sure.
I said, you got any inside scoop on Steven? And he just kind of laughed, and he says, oh, I've got bunches of them. But now, I sit up there in the tower and I watch you guys roll up, and you pre-stage and then you stage. And when the light turns green, you're gone. What's that like? What was that like the first time you done that?
Not really scary. It's kind of complicated, especially in what we do. We've got a lot of electronics in the car. Obviously, announcing the classes, that we've got the no box class, which that class doesn't have a bunch of electronics, but what we run has got a bunch of electronics. So it was complicated, to say the least. When I first, you use a trans brake, and then when you see that top bulb come on, you let go of that trans brake. But in the midst of that, you've got to pre-stage, stage, put your thumb on the trans brake, let off the brake pedal, and mat the gas all in one swift motion. And I told Steven the first couple times, I said, oh, there is no way I'll ever get the hang of this. I mean, my brain just didn't work that fast, It's kind of like trying to rub your belly and pat your head at the same time. But over time, it kind of just becomes a natural reaction. Like, I couldn't even tell you what I do in my race car anymore. It's a habit. So, it's definitely a adrenaline rush for sure. That's the difference in drag racing and other motorsports is that initial hit. You've got so much power and torque, as soon as the car leaves, that's what makes it different. And it's definitely a adrenaline rush. My brother has raced motorcycles and things his whole life, and I never thought that I would do anything that would scare my brother until he got in my drag car, and he was like, "This is crazy," This is crazy. But it like I said, it's definitely a learning curve to learn how to do it. People think you can just hop in a drag car and go, but there's a lot to it.
Well, I know I still to this day can't pat my head and rub my stomach. So don't feel bad, But yeah, it actually
days, even though it might
it
be
amazes me the not so much how fast the cars are, because I really don't see the speed at the other end, but I do see how quick they leave. And that's just, I mean, it's and it's not just the dragsters. I mean, some of those cars are just, I mean, the no box class, some of those guys, I mean, they roll up there and boom, they are gone. And it's amazing how much effort goes into that staging, the pre-stage and the staging and working the light. And, I remember doing it years and years and years ago when they actually had bulbs in the LED, it wasn't LEDs, it was bulbs. And I remember doing that years ago, and I never could cut a good light. I mean, I think that may be why I went to dirt track racing, because you got 20 laps to make it up if you blow it on the start.
Yeah, you could definitely lose a race on the starting line. I mean,
do you find that racing together and promoting together, do you find that brings you and Steven closer together? I mean, doing something that you both love and you're passionate about?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I see men mostly, typically the women that race, their husbands are there with them. I can't think of any woman that I know that comes racing and doesn't have her husband there with her. But I see plenty of men come that their families aren't with them. And I can't imagine us not doing that together. Like, I'd be mad at Steven if he went racing without me, and he'd be mad at me if I went, even before I was racing and I would go with him. It's just something we do together. There's times that I don't necessarily like it, but it's a lifestyle, and it's what we do, and we do it together, and we do it as a family. The drag strip kind of becomes a campground on weekends. All your buddies are there, and we cook out, and then we race a little bit here and there. I mean, a couple weekends ago, after we got done racing, we wound up setting up some cornhole boards out in the burnout box. There's probably 20 of us just hung out, threw some cornhole, and drank a beer, and ate some pizza, and had a good time. So it's definitely a family thing, and I feel sorry for these people that have to go racing by themselves, and their wives and their kids don't go with them. It doesn't seem like that would be the fun thing to do.
Well, now I know your daughter races, Emma, and she's getting pretty quick herself. Is it tough watching her race?
No, goodness, that kid, she's been around it for so long. She probably knows more about it than most adults. So you can start racing you can start actually competing when you're 6. At 5, by IHRA rules, which is the sanctioning body, International Hot Rod Association, that's our sanctioning body for our track. You can start testing at 5 and making like half track passes. At 6, you can start competing. Well, Emma started competing when she was 6. She does when she was 6. And funny story, we took her out to the track, and I was just going to put her in her car, not crank it or anything, and just push her around, because, that thing being long and skinny, you kind of got to learn how to drive it. It's not like driving your Hot Wheel or your 12-volt battery car around the yard. And I pushed her, I don't know, around like one curve, and she told me, she said, "Put me on the track. I know what I'm doing." I said, okay. Took her out there, we cranked it up, and she went down the track. She probably ran like, I don't know, 13 or 14 seconds at 30 or 40 miles an hour. And when Steven got down there to get her, she told him that she wanted to do that 1,000 more times today. and she's been that way since then. I mean, But no, I don't worry about her. I love watching her. It's frustrating sometimes. Those juniors are complicated machines as far as trying to get them to be consistent. And but no, I love it. I love seeing her out there. That's where all her friends are. You know, she goes to school and she has a few friends there, but they don't really understand her. They don't really have the same interest because she goes to school talking about drag racing and they're all like, you know, lost. They don't have a clue what she's talking about. So, you know, her friends and her family are at the drag strip, and so I love seeing her do it.
Well, I know. I have been impressed by the junior dragsters in just my short time there. Some of the things that you see, I mean, they're really, really quick for what they are. And the thing that gets me is the bond that you see between parents and children racing. Because, I mean, when you look at it, that's the future of racing right there.
Absolutely.
You know, dirt track racing has always been kind of different because it takes a little bit more, I don't want to say knowledge, but you're doing more with the car than going in a straight line. Whereas in a straight drag racing, it's more about consistency. With the dirt car, you've got a lot of adjustments to make and chassis and driving style, hitting your marks and that sort of thing. But to watch the young people gravitate towards motorsports in general, it's really made my heart kind of smile. And especially when I seen the 27 or 28 juniors we had there the other night, that was really impressive.
Oh yeah, I've been to a lot of other tracks around here, you know, in the Southeast, and I think I dare to say that we've got probably the best or one of the best junior programs around. You know, and it's great. I mean, I love seeing the kids out there. It's a great time for them to spend with their parents. You know, we've got teenagers. You know, you get into 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and they don't want to be around their parents. You know, a lot of these kids are off with their friends, or they're sitting in a bedroom on a telephone, TV, you know, electronic, where these kids are with their parents on a Friday and Saturday night. You know, and that's a great way to, you know, kind of keep the family thing going and not lose your teenager off into the crazy world we live in. And then these kids, they all are friends. You know, they're all good friends. They, unfortunately, most of them live. That's what Emma was telling me the other day. She said, you know, none of my friends live within 45 minutes of me. And she's talking about all the kids from the racetrack because they're from, you know, Cleveland to Lafayette to down towards Atlanta, Fort Payne, Alabama. So that's kind of a tough thing. It's not like we can just get together, ask them to come up and go swimming with us through the week. She misses her friends through the week. But yeah, we have got an awesome junior program, awesome parents. You know, we've got grandparents. End of the year, we have a Christmas party for just the juniors. And one of the grandparents and a couple of the parents get like little gifts together for them. I think last year they all got like a duffel bag to carry their for their suit, and, you know, all their safety equipment to carry in. But yeah, that program is awesome, and it's like you said, it's the future of drag racing. It makes me know that in 10 years, you know, we're going to have a bunch of kids in big cars, you know, and it's just going to carry the racing on.
Well, that's a good thing. Well, I'll tell you what, Amy, hold that thought. We're gonna talk a little bit more about that when we come back. We're gonna step out, take a quick commercial break, and then we'll shift gears and go again. Don't go anywhere.
Okay.
It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and my very special guest, Amy Farrow from Brainerd Motorsports Park. And you'll find us exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Do you love the sound of high revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
Covering the entire field from the back markers to the front runners, the teams, the owners, and the promoters. It's the Mitch Walker Show. Now back to Mitch, the Dr. Walker.
Sitting in with me tonight is Amy Farrow from Brainerd Motorsports Park. And one of the things that we have been talking about is the junior dragster program they have going there. And I think it's, like we had talked about, it's the future of the sport moving forward. These kids are going to be moving up into dragsters, and there'll be another crop of juniors coming in. So it's going to be an ever-ending cycle. But now, Amy, are you ever worried that Emma's going to come up and take your spot away from you?
I promise you, when she starts racing a big car, I'm going to retire. These kids that come out as juniors, man, they are so good. And yeah, and I will. I'll let her take over my car, and I'll borrow it from her every now and again. But I'll be excited when she does. We had one of our juniors come out this year. She just turned 16 and has been practicing in a big car. She's racing it full time now. But I love seeing these kids come out of these juniors and get in competition with the adults that have kind of molded them, through the years. That junior that I was talking about, I raced her when we raced, not last weekend, not this past weekend, but the last weekend when I raced. I had to run her first round, and she tried to cut my head off, and she wound up beating herself. But they're tough. They're tough, and yeah, like I said, when Emma gets old enough, I'm gonna retire. She'll embarrass me.
I have seen in the dirt racing world, I've seen a few sons come up and take over for their dads, and there's been a couple of them that their dads put them in a separate car and brought them up, and they got to race side by side with their dad. And one daughter raced side by side with her dad, and they thought that was pretty sweet. And I've asked every one of them the same thing I ask you. Do you think that racing together keeps that bond, that family bond, strong? And every person I've asked in 7 years of doing this show has said exactly the same thing. Said, yeah, we wouldn't want it no other way. So, seeing the young people come up and work their way up through the ranks, that's got to be rewarding from a promoter's standpoint and from a parent standpoint. So, I know it is, as a father, it would mean a lot to me. I mean, my son, he's taken up my craft of photography, and he got dirt cars down pretty good and was doing really good at the dirt track. And he come over and we started working with him on doing drag racing, and he got some pretty good shots in there. So watching your son following your craft, or your child following your craft is pretty rewarding as a parent too. So it's a lot of fun. But now, as far as from the promoting side, I know Brainerd has got a full month of August coming up. A lot of things planned. What is this fun night that I seen on the schedule?
Oh, that's just our Friday night test and tune. It's just a night to come out and have fun. Just plain and simple. The track is prepped, just like it's prepped for anybody. It's good enough to bring a full-blown race car out, or it's, bring out your whatever, a Tahoe, your mama's minivan, whatever. It's just a night that we come out and have fun, just testing, make passes. If you need to tune on your car, bring it out. If you just want to see how fast your new Mustang is, bring it out. I love driving my dragster, but there's nothing more fun than getting out there in your daily driver and just seeing what it'll run. I had when was it? Last Tuesday, I think. Me and one of my workers got out there, and I was in my Chevrolet and SUV, and he was in his Ford SUV, and he was like, "Come on, let's race." And we raced, and I beat him heads up, and then we dialed him in and bracket raced him.
You and AJ made a couple of passes the other night too, didn't you?
It's fun. Just to go out there and you're not running but 60 or 70 miles an hour. It's a far cry from the 145 I'm used to, but it's fun. You're not out there competing. It's just fun, and that's what Friday nights are all about.
Well, I tell you what, we have. I've been doing some Facebook Lives from the track on Friday nights when I've been up there, and gotten a lot of positive response from. Most of the people that I'm friends with on Facebook are dirt trackers, and I'm slowly starting to work towards getting some of the drag racers on there. But I noticed we've had a few of the dirt trackers that have come over to Brainerd. I noticed there was 3 of them there Saturday night, and two of them were racing. So slowly but surely, maybe we can convert a few more.
Yeah. I saw a couple of them there too. They said they were just there for a change of scenery, which, that's always fun sometimes to go check out something different. You don't have to just stick with one motorsport. It's always fun to have a variety, of interest.
Well,
so.
The one thing that I noticed the first night I was up there was Derek Verner. He races, his wife races, and all 3 of his kids race. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that when he came up with the junior with his 3 kids to bring them up, he brought his Ford Dually up, and he run it in Sportsman. Mm-hmm. And then turned around and went back and got in his car, his Chevelle, and come back and run it in no box. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of cool, just taking advantage of getting the chance to make another pass, So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that family got the hardest working family award at our banquet last year, because they do. I don't know how they do it with the 3 kids, and which luckily they're old enough now they can kind of get themselves up there and get themselves ready, but him running in 2 classes and then her racing and the 3 kids, and they make my head spin watching them.
Oh, I was going to go down there and tell him, it's like, hey man, could you slow down just a little bit? Because you're going around in circles, you're making me dizzy.
Yeah.
But, it was pretty interesting watching that.
And they got 2 more kids. They got 2 younger kids. I don't know if they're interested in racing or not. One of them is just now getting to the age, I think, where he can race, and the other one's still too young. But I'm thinking, how you'll do it with 5, and you ought to, and then they got to bring two trailers because they got so much equipment. And it's that I give them props for being able to. I know it's difficult when me and Stephen and Emma go somewhere and all 3 of us try to race, much less 5 of you with 2 different classes, and I don't know.
How do you fit 2 dragsters in one trailer? Do you stack them?
Well, you can. They make stacker trailers, but a 34 and 36 foot trailer, you can usually get 2 dragsters in. You got to back one in and then pull one in. That's usually what we do, and then we got to find some other way to get Emma's car. We don't get to go racing much anymore, but when we do go, somebody else is usually going and they'll haul Emma's car for us. But yeah, you can get 2 cars in a 34, 36-foot trailer.
Well, I know one thing that we had talked about this the other night. One of the things that I dig is some of the paint jobs that they've got on some of these cars. Some of them are graphics. I understand some of them are wraps, but a lot of them are paint jobs, and some of them are pretty stinking sharp. And that's pretty cool because you don't bend them. I mean, you're not rubbing fenders with somebody out there when you're racing. So you can have a paint job like that and make it work.
Oh yeah. You can, those paint jobs will stay good for a long time. And there are some crazy ones out there, some good looking race cars. Mine is my car is just a carbon fiber body with decals on it. But now Steven's car, the red and white and black one, it's a paint job. And it's not like dirt track racing where somebody's going to beat the paint off of you every race. So you can actually go spend some money and have a good looking paint job on your drag car.
Oh yeah. Some of them are just amazing. And it's just another thing about a different form of motorsports that, I find just interesting as can be. And I know that since I've come over and started working with you guys, I have been schooling myself all week long, trying to get more and more informed, because as an announcer, you have to be able to keep your fans entertained, and you have to know what you're talking about before you can keep them entertained. So it's been a learning curve for me, but I'm digging it.
Oh yeah, you're doing a good job, and I mean, there's so many different types of drag racing that you've got a lot to learn, and you're doing a good job in a short period of time. I mean, between bracket racing and heads up racing and index racing, and then we really throw you a wrench in it and go down to the shutdown area and race. There's dirt track racing, you just got a bunch of classes, but it's pretty much all the same as, the first guy to the finish line wins, which with drag racing, it's not always that way. And bracket racing is a hard concept to grasp. People are like, why is that car leaving before the other one? But you're getting a pretty good hang of it.
The smackdown and the shutdown, that was something new for me. I mean, I've been around racing all my life, and years ago when it was Brainerd Optimus Club, I made a few passes up there in my old Mustang, and but the smackdown and the shutdown, that was pretty interesting, and that drew a big crowd. I mean, there was a lot of people there Saturday night.
Yeah, and not near as many as we've had. I think that the rain, kept quite a few people away. We usually have probably about double that amount for that race. From where I stand, I feel like it's like a big cluster, because I don't like downtime in a race. Me and Steven both. If there's downtime, what may be only 5 minutes seems like 15 minutes to us, because we're trying to put ourselves in the bleachers as a spectator, and you don't want to just be sitting there not watching anything. Well, with that shutdown race, there's only so many different classes you can run, because not everybody can run on a no prep surface. And then those guys have got to have time to cool their engines off, cool their transmissions off, things like that. So there's some downtime, and I hate it, but there's not a whole lot you can do with it. But the fans love it; they love that racing. But it's interesting. It's kind of like going out in the street and racing, pretty much, is what that's trying to simulate. There's no electronic timing system. There's no tree that drops to tell you when to go. There's just a guy there with a flashlight, and we don't even have a water hose down there. We got to bring a cooler and a bucket to put water out for burnout. So that's what people just like, that simulation of being out street racing.
Well, I know I talked to some of the fans that were down there Saturday night, and they said, "Man, we live for this. This is great." Said there was a couple of them that they said they come regularly, and they said, but this is something we bring friends and family to. And I said, well, man, you need to start bringing friends and family to all the races. I said,
Yeah.
They got a lot of stuff going on here. I said, we will work to try to keep you entertained when there are not two cars going down the strip. So we'll work on that and see if we can't do something to keep them rocking and rolling.
Yeah, when we're on the racetrack, it's a lot easier to kind of keep things moving. But like I said, as the night goes on and cars get eliminated and the classes get smaller and those guys got to have some turnaround time, it's hard to keep something going down the track all the time. But I think those people that come out and watch that race and understand that. So.
It is. Well, I'll tell you what, Amy, we're up against the next commercial break. I'm going to have to let you go, but I want to thank you for coming on and tell Stephen that he ain't getting off this easy. We'll get him back on here again. And make sure you tell Emma that I've got a spot saved for her in an upcoming show. We will get her on here as well, because I really want to hear from the juniors and what she thinks about it and what her feelings are, about racing and how she looks at the world. So let her know that we'll be getting her on real soon.
Awesome. I'll let her know.
All right. Well, what do you got going on this weekend at Brainerd?
This weekend is a regular IHRA Summit Super Series points race, Super Pro, no box, sportsmen and junior dragsters. It's our bracket program. And I believe we also got maybe 16 or 20 motorcycles coming. They wanted to put together a little bracket race, so I told them to come on and we'd work them in the schedule. So this weekend is bracket racing, next weekend bracket racing, and then the weekend after that is the 440 Bad Boys. If there's a show to watch, that's the one to come watch. Really cool door slammers running a 440 Index, which is super fast in a door car.
It's getting it done, that's for sure. And don't forget,
that is.
Friday night, they'll be test and tune Friday night. If you want to run your smart car, come on out. You can pre-stage with the front wheels and stage it with the back wheels and take the green light and go. But thanks so much, Amy, for coming on tonight, and I'll see you this weekend.
Thanks, Mitch. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Amy Farrow,
All right.
ladies and gentlemen, the promoter from Brainerd Motorsports Park. All right, we're going to step out, take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Mr. Maurice Petty. So don't go nowhere. It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and you'll find me exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way. If you're a racer and you've not yet heard of Raceworks Incorporated in Berlin, Connecticut, you'll be hearing about them soon. Raceworks is Connecticut's official LFR and Troyer repair shop and fabricator for all your modified chassis needs. Raceworks Incorporated is your one-stop race shop covering all of your modified needs. From a complete roller to fabrication of new body panels for that beginning of year update or for an after-race weekend repair, Raceworks Incorporated has you covered. Raceworks Incorporated, also specializing in prep, chassis setup, shock testing, and interior fabrication. Raceworks Incorporated is proudly owned and operated by New England Antique Racers Association inductee Ed Flemke. That's Raceworks Incorporated, located in Berlin, Connecticut. Give them a call at 860-829-1312. That's 860-829-1312. Raceworks Incorporated. Tell all your racing friends.
It's the Mitch Walker Show. All racing and none of the BS. Now here is Mitch, the Dr. Walker.
All right, welcome back to the Mitch Walker Show. You know, in life, everyone who follows a sport, whether it be racing or baseball or softball or basketball, whatever it is, everyone usually develops a driver or a player, somebody that they're really drawn to, somebody that they can associate with, somebody that they, I don't want to say idolize, but kind of in loose terms, that's their hero. Well, years ago when I got started racing, enjoying racing and watching racing, Bobby Allison was my favorite driver because I had met him at 5 years old at Boyd Speedway. And as I got to following racing, following him, I found myself being drawn to the red and blue number 43 of Richard Petty. And I read a few things about Petty and how his operation works and how he was a second generation racer. And I really kind of switched from being a Bobby Allison fan to a Richard Petty fan. And this was back in the heyday of the 70s, and watching early 60s and 70s, watching Petty win. And I got to where I knew all of his crew members. I knew his engine builder, which was his brother Maurice, his crew chief Dale Inman, which was his cousin. Each and every one of them played an important part. Well, this past week, Maurice Petty, who had just been inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame, passed away. Maurice Petty, and I found this and I wanted to share this. Maurice Petty, the man who supplied the horsepower that propelled his brother, Richard Petty, to nearly all of his 200 NASCAR wins and 7 NASCAR championships, has died. He was 81. The man simply called Chief was one of the best engine builders in the history of the sport, and often a behind-the-scenes member of the Petty dynasty. Maurice was the 4th member of the family dynasty to be inducted into NASCAR's Hall of Fame, following his older brother Richard, his father Lee, and his cousin Dale Inman. Never did, didn't then, and don't now, Maurice Petty said in 2013 when asked if he felt that he had been passed over in the previous years. It really makes me happy, because that means I was a part of all of them getting in, and now they've got us all in. Petty was born in 1939 in Level Cross, North Carolina, was the first engine builder to be inducted into the prestigious Hall of Fame. He is credited with 212 wins as an engine builder, according to Richard Petty Motorsports. The Scotch car racing pioneer also served as an occasional crew chief and later as the team's general manager. Maurice had a brief driving career, 26 Premier Series races with 7 top 5s and 16 top 10s between 1960 and 1964 before he found his calling in the shop. Petty, 21 months younger than his elder brother Richard, overcame polio as a child. Both Richard and Maurice worked on their father's pit crew as teenagers. He later consulted with Dodge upon their return to NASCAR's Premier Series in 2001. Maurice had built the engines that carried his brothers to 198 of his NASCAR record 200 wins. He also built the engines that put drivers such as Buddy Baker, Pete Hamilton, and Jim Paschal in victory lane. I was one of the first engine builders, so it makes you like a pioneer or something, Petty said in 2013. We had 3 or 4 guys helping out, but not the whole time. We did it the hard way. I came along and I have welded, swept the floors, and I drove. I did it all up to a point. In 1964, that's when I turned it all into building engines. Upon Maurice being voted into the Hall of Fame, Richard Petty said that without his younger brother's talents, then there wouldn't have been a Richard Petty or a Lee Petty or a Dale Inman accomplishing the things that we did accomplish. He is the engine man that everybody has had to compete against. Leonard Wood, whose Wood Brothers racing team often found itself going head-to-head with Richard Petty and Petty Enterprises for supremacy in the sport, said Maurice was doing just about everything right. A very tough competitor who took his job very seriously, Wood said in 2013. You've got all these people you have to beat each and every week. But you knew when you went out that if you could beat him, you could win the race. All those years and all those engines he built for Petty, his engines always run up front. Just very hard to beat. A legend in the sport, Maurice Petty, is gone at 81. Now, like I said, there's a lot of things that we look at as kids. You look up to people. And for years, I would draw cars in school instead of studying. I would draw those Thunderbirds and those Dodges that Petty run, the Plymouths. And I always noticed that on the back of it, it said Petty Enterprises. And I got to where I could draw that logo pretty good. So it popped up on just about every car I ever drew. But the Petty's done things differently. And I know Richard has taken a lot of crap over the Bubba Wallace thing the past few months, but he is a pioneer in the sport and a legend, an icon that you can't overlook. And like he said, he couldn't have done it without his little brother. Watching the success and seeing what they have done and accomplished over the years has got to be an inspiration to many people. Although the era that they raced in was vastly different than the era of today, the hard work, the innovations, and the passion that they shared for the sport is unmarked by anybody. Nowadays, things are different. It's still racing, and we still love it. But we just have to move on and keep the legends in the sport, keep their memories alive. And that's what we do here at the Mitch Walker Show, is we work real hard at keeping the memory and the history of the sport alive so that the new people coming into the sport can learn from it and appreciate it, and give them a better understanding of just how racing really is and how it was and how it got to where it is today. So keep the Petties in your prayers and keep the family of Maurice Petty, keep them in your prayers especially well, and all the Petty families as they go through this tough time going forward without Maurice, the chief, there to guide them. All right, there is a lot of things that we want to touch on tonight's show. We'll be getting Chuck Becker in here in just a little bit. We'll get him on here, and me and him are going to talk about some of the possibilities in NASCAR. But if you're not a Twitter fan, you need to be. There is a Twitter war going on now between Jesse Little and Joe Graff Jr. This escalated pretty quick. Jesse Little tweeted, "Hey, Joey Graff, I'm not about to start wrecking Johnny's cars or Bobby's for that matter. So with all of our free time next week, let me know where you want to meet, and you and I can handle whatever problems you seem to have with me." And Joey Graff's response was, "Now all of a sudden you want to talk? You hid in your holler last week at Texas after the race when I tried to talk to you about you trying to wreck me. I didn't hide in my holler after the race today. You could have come talk to me the whole hour after. Instead, you stared at me for an hour from 4 hollers away. Are you more interested in starting drama than coming and talking to me like a man? And by the way, I accept the apology you texted me today before the race about trying to wreck me at Texas. I consider this settled. Thanks." Now, these guys are using Twitter to deal with each other. Talking is good, but there was an example that happened at a local racetrack a young man, I won't mention his name. There was some comments made on social media. There was some name calling going on. There was some talk about a person's heritage and his family tree. There was talk about his lack of driving ability on both parts. And this went on for a couple of days. This morning, I seen a tweet from one of the two guys involved. He said, me and the other driver have talked. We have settled our differences. And we are moving forward with this with no hard feelings and no ill will towards each other. And we will try our best to race each other clean from now on. I was an asshat, and I shouldn't have said some of the things that I said. But in the heat of the moment and the anger I was experiencing, I let my better judgment go out the window. And for that, I'm sorry. I apologize to the fans and the listeners and the readers, whoever follows me, that I will try my best not to do that again and try to handle this like a man. Now, you know, I think that was probably one of the coolest things I've read in the past 2 weeks. The young man stepped up, said he was wrong. He owned his mistake, said he was wrong for posting some of the things that he said. Both of them have deleted all the tweets that or the messages that they had posted on Facebook that was getting everybody worked up. They've deleted those, and they have both come out and said that there's no hard feelings and no ill will, and that they will try to race each other clean moving forward. We need more of this in the world. I'm telling you, that is probably one of the best things that could happen. You know, I have seen a lot of friendships broken and damaged because of things that happened on a racetrack. And one of the two was too damn hard-headed or had too much pride or ego or whatever you want to call it to walk down to the other hauler and say, hey, I messed up. I'm sorry. We need more of that. Own your mistakes. Don't take the social media blasting the other one because it makes the sport look bad. And we can't have the sport looking bad. We struggle enough. We watch how NASCAR struggles, how they've got the antiseptic clean image they want to uphold. And we see how that works for them. We don't want that filtering down into dirt track racing. Dirt track racers have always dealt with things on a face-to-face basis. We need to get back to that. If it comes down to where you two want to go to blows, well, go down by the water pond or go out behind somebody's hauler and go to it. But don't get on social media bad-mouthing each other and talking trash. Just deal with it. However you have to deal with it. If talking and discussing it don't work, then take the next step and square off with each other. Put on some boxing gloves. I'm sure there's probably a promoter out there that would pay you an extra $100 if y'all would suit up with boxing gloves and go to it at the start-finish line. But leave social media out of it. Deal with it like you're supposed to, face-to-face or with a phone call. It's amazing how much good that can do. All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to step out. And when we come back, we're going to get Mr. Chuck Becker in here, get him in here, and God only knows what me and him's going to talk about. So sit tight, get you something to drink, get you a bag of tater chips, and hang tight because we're getting ready to rock and roll with Chuck Becker when we come back. It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and you'll find me exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
It's the Mitch Walker Show, proving there are shows about racing featuring more than just NASCAR. And here's your proof, Mitch the Dr. Walker.
All right, welcome back. It is the Mitch Walker Show. It is Monday night, so normal procedure going. Join me right now, my buddy from the left coast, Mr. Chuck Becker. Chuck, what's up, buddy?
Hey, not much, Mitch. How you doing back there?
Oh man, we're hanging on. Now I've got to rub you about this. Everybody follows you on Facebook for your Gavin Newsom rants, and I know I love them to death. I mean, that's like the highlight of my day. But this past week, I just don't know what to think. What is this? What is this thing you're doing called vacation? What is that? Is that some kind of new word or something?
Well, yeah, I work during the week, and then I've been very fortunate. And because of the racing situation out here with our fine governor and him only allowing a certain amount of people per car in the pits and no fans in the stands and just the chaos that he's got going and stuff, we ended up buying a motorhome, and we parked it down at Lake Havasu at a campground. And so we can just leave our motorhome down there, and we can leave our boat down there. And as soon as we're off work Friday, I jump in the truck and we haul ass for the river. And just to sit and watch people and enjoy the nice cool water and everything. I mean, cool to some people is 50 degrees. Cool to me is like 85. So when it's 115 out and the water's 85, it feels really good. So that's what I've been doing.
I can imagine. Well, I'm glad you got a little time away so that you can do your thing, because there's so much that people in California have to put up with. I mean, it's just I don't know. I guess you could say it's a real pain in the ass, and makes me glad that I left out there, but I really hate it for my friends like you that are stuck out there. And I really hate to rub it in, but we're racing everywhere back here.
There are some races out here, and we've talked about this before. I just don't, if I'm going to travel to go race, I'm going to pick and choose the races I'm going to go to. For example, I got it offered to go run a Challenge Cup car August 29th at Madeira on the asphalt. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. What the Challenge Cup cars are basically, they're the older version of the Winston West cars, which were the older version of the old Cup cars.
Yep.
And I got a chance to go run one of those, so I'm going to do that, providing that nothing happens with COVID-19 in California and everybody flips out and jumps off the wrong side of the frying pan, and we have a race.
Well, there's so much going on out there. It really sucks, because I know the promoters are suffering because of this. Like we were talking just a minute ago during break, the promoters have to pay for the racetrack, because most of them a lot of them are located on fairgrounds. So the fairgrounds gets their cut, and without the fans in the stands, the promoters can't afford to do this. So it's not like some of the promoters back here who just take a chance, and try to struggle through and just try to break even. The promoters out there have got to deal with the fairgrounds. So, I feel for the promoters, I really do. And I feel for the racers and everybody surrounding it, just your suppliers, your parts trucks, and all those guys. I know they're hurting too. So, we down here in the South, we are racing, but we do remember you guys. I mean, it's
here's something else that's going on that most people don't understand. The dirt tracks out here. Now, I don't know how they are in the East, but the dirt tracks from Texas this direction, they have a tendency to get dry and they have a tendency to take rubber, and they do this stuff, but they can work the tracks if you race on them every week to where they can make them pretty consistent. Well, Bakersfield has had, I think, 2 races this year. Now, if anybody knows anything about California, Bakersfield is the premier modified track on the West Coast, bar none. If you're anybody who is anybody, you go race there, and you better be ready because it's the toughest place around to hold your own. Now, they had a race this past weekend, and Bakersfield is one of those tracks where you can run the top, you can run the middle, you can run the bottom. And when I say the top, that means your quarter panel is usually gone by the end of the race because it's on the crash wall, and you can run any of those 3. Well, what has happened is because they're not racing on it and they can't get the moisture down in it or anything, the track has just gone to crap, and it's one groove, follow the leader, dust bowl, to where people are just starting the race and pulling off the track because it's just not fun. And that's a shame because by not running on the tracks, they're just going to crap.
And that does suck. I mean, I know I recently switched to the other side of I-75 because Boyd Speedway has always been on the east side of I-75, and with Boyd shutting down here a couple of months ago, I was kind of an announcer without a track, and Brainerd Motorsports Park, which is the drag strip on the west side of the track, was needing an announcer. So I volunteered. I called and said, hey, if you need somebody, I'll be happy to come up. I don't know much about drag racing, but I'll come up and help out. And Stephen and Amy Farrow, Amy, who we just had on a couple of segments ago, they said, man, come on, we need somebody. And it's been a big learning curve for me. I had to figure out that for 12 years, I've been saying the start-finish line, because the start-finish line is at the same place. But at the drag strip, it's not. Amy called me the other night on the radio, and she said, hey, tell the racers that if somebody's missing a lid off their fuel cell, I have it at the starting line. So without even thinking, I pick up the microphone. I said, hey, everybody check your fuel cell, your gas tanks. Make sure you got your lid. If you don't have your lid or your cap, it's at the start-finish line down here. And I stopped and I went, let me correct that. It's at the starting line because the finish line's way down yonder on the other end. But other than a few little glitches like that, I've kind of adapted. And they're great people. I mean, they stand for the national anthem and the prayer. Nobody takes a knee. Nobody gets offended. And most of the kids, like in the junior dragsters, we done the national anthem. And Emma, a young lady who is the promoter's daughter, I'm going to be getting her on the show real soon. I think she's like 10 or 12. I'm not sure how old she is, but this girl sings the national anthem every week and does just an awesome job. But they had the junior dragsters all lined up to start running their round. And I looked down there while Emma was singing the national anthem, and every one of the junior dragsters were standing there facing the flag with their hands on their hearts.
Right.
And I sit there and I thought, just when you think that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you see something like this, and you see these kids, the future of our sport, stand there with their hand on their heart, facing the flag, and you know that there are some parents out there that are still doing the right thing.
Right. That is a touchy subject with me. You know exactly where I stand on it, and I am livid about some of these oppressed victim millionaires that get to play sports 6 months out of the year, and none of their families will ever have to worry about anything for the next 5 generations because of it. But they're leading the rough life. Yeah. Take a knee.
Well, there was a thing going around a few years ago, and it's still going around today. It shows a Marine with a folded flag handing it to a crying widow, and it says,
Right.
it said something about you stand for the flag because these can no longer stand,
Right.
and or something about, I forget what it is exactly, but it's along those same lines that if you don't stand for the flag, you don't understand the meaning of the flag until you've been handed one like this. That's what it is.
And and right therein lies the problem of what we've got going right now is instead of teaching the past and teaching history and how we got to where we're at right now, there are certain people that are trying to eliminate history and forget all about it and just move forward. And that's unacceptable to me.
Yep.
Because the past will repeat itself if they don't learn who, what, why, when, and where. And it will come full circle and it will happen again.
Oh, yeah. Now, let me tell you a funny. I'm not going to mention which racetrack this is, but there is a track here in the South that has come up with an idea that they want to take, and when they do the flag ceremony, and, we usually have one car carry the American flag, they're wanting to have 20 cars follow behind the American flag, 20 cars carrying the Confederate flag. And they're going to invite all protesters to come join them.
Right.
So I'm really kind of waiting to see if they're going to really do it and see if anybody comes to protest.
Mitch, that's a touchy spot with me. I have a problem with eliminating the Confederate flag. Not because it does or does not matter anything to me, because I have my own personal beliefs, but it is not the same meaning to some people as what it is to others. And well, let's take Richard Petty, for instance. Okay, well, if we're erasing history and we're eliminating the Confederate flag and he's going to put down that Confederate flag, does that mean he no longer has 200 victories? Does that mean he now has like 187 because some of his wins came in the Rebel 500?
Yep, and he had Johnny Reb on the hood of his car.
Correct. So I'm kind of confused. How do we pick and choose what it is? I mean, I'm not understanding something here. And how is it that we can get rid of the Rebel flag and then the very next day have a car out that says BLM all over it? Okay, well, if one's offensive to one, why is the other okay to run when it's offensive to others? I don't get it.
No, I don't.
I don't understand hypocrisy.
We've covered that various times from various different angles, and I can't seem to make heads or tails out of any of it. But what do you? Let me shift gears here. What do you think about the new SRX series that Tony Stewart and Ray Evernham have coming for next year?
Well, let's take a look at Tony Stewart. If I recall, there was a guy named Tony George with this kid named Tony Stewart that not only saved but revived IndyCar racing. So I'm going to go with that Tony Stewart probably knows just a little bit about what he's doing.
Yep.
With this one. And I know that there's a lot of people that are questioning exactly what I just said, but they can go back in the history books and they can look, because IndyCar racing at one time was exactly where NASCAR is right now. They were down to about four different owners. They had no cars, they had no fans, because they priced everybody out of it. Tony George and Tony Stewart saved it.
And now he has brought in Ray Evernham, probably whether you like him or not, probably one of the best minds in racing.
There can be an argument whether you like him or not there, for sure.
If you have any doubts, go look up the Ray Evernham's Gray Ghost on YouTube and watch him take that car to the top of the hill at Pikes Peak. And that is a car that he designed and he come up with all on his own. So it's something that you know, the man knows what he's doing, and he says
Correct.
he can make all the cars even. I'm looking forward to it, but you know, we're up against the commercial break here in just a second. So, but I want you to think about this during the break, Chuck. They're going to run 12 races. Or six races with 12 drivers, and they're going to pair them with 12 crew chiefs, and then they're going to swap them around during the 6 races. So you might not be with the same crew chief 2 races in a row. But
that's my kind of racing.
That's the part that has me wondering, you know, if this is going to be as good as I think it's going to be. But sit tight, hold that thought. We're going to step out, take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll delve into that, just both feet like 2 kids splashing in a mud puddle. So don't go nowhere. It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker, and my good buddy, Mr. Chuck Becker from the left coast. And you'll find us exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here, the Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it. If you're a racer and you've not yet heard of Raceworks Incorporated in Berlin, Connecticut, you'll be hearing about them soon. Raceworks is Connecticut's official LFR and Troyer repair shop and fabricator for all your modified chassis needs. Raceworks Incorporated is your one-stop race shop covering all of your modified needs. From a complete roller to fabrication of new body panels for that beginning of year update or for an after-race weekend repair, Raceworks Incorporated has you covered. Raceworks Incorporated, also specializing in prep, chassis setup, shock testing, and interior fabrication. Raceworks Incorporated is proudly owned and operated by New England Antique Racers Association inductee Ed Flemke. That's Raceworks Incorporated, located in Berlin, Connecticut. Give them a call at 860-829-1312. That's 860-829-1312. Raceworks Incorporated. Tell all your racing friends. Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
It's the Mitch Walker Show. Great guests, great host, compelling topics, and the producer ain't so bad either. Now back to Mitch the Dr. Walker.
All right, welcome back. And yeah, I do have to admit, I've got a pretty damn cool producer this time. And we made some changes, but it's I'm happy. Chuck, I know, we had talked about the SRX series with Tony Stewart, and you made a very valid point about Tony Stewart and Tony George saving Indy cars. Now, when this came out here a couple of weeks ago, Tony Stewart said that he didn't want to replace NASCAR. He was just doing this as an alternative to, or in addition to. Now, I don't think most of your NASCAR fans would really be drawn to an IROC type of series, but it does shift gears, and it makes NASCAR take a different look at things. And one thing too, that I'm going to make this prediction. We have talked about NASCAR being on a downward spiral, and Bill Blair said it on the show here a couple of months ago. He said, you know, when you flush the toilet, he said, it'll start slowly at the top, and then it starts picking up speed as it goes down. And he said NASCAR's just about to the bottom, and they're going pretty fast. And with some of the actions that have happened in the past month or so, that prediction is ringing really, really true. Well, here's another prediction, and I have this from a very, very good source. Should NASCAR fold, or when it does, there is another organization that is standing, waiting in the wings, that has already signed up 6 manufacturers who want to compete. And all I'm going to say is their first race will probably be at Indianapolis. So you can if you can put pieces together and what has happened in the fine state of Indiana in the past couple of years, you will know who is behind some of this. But I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to mention no names. I'm just saying that there is another series that is, everything is in place. They're just waiting for somebody to flip the switch. And it will be on like Donkey Kong. But now back to the SRX series. I think I'm waiting to see more than anything the first prototype car that they come out with, because this car is going to run ovals, it's going to run dirt, and it's going to run road courses. They're going to keep them all on short tracks. There's not going to be any super speedways so that they have to worry about aerodynamics and all of that. But I'm really excited to see what Evernham has in his mind on what he's going to cut loose on these cars. That's what I'm waiting on.
I'm a little bit curious about that too. And when you speak of Ray Evernham, let's go to his masterpiece there, Jeff Gordon. Well,
yep.
Jeff Gordon, if you compare Jeff Gordon with Ray Evernham versus Jeff Gordon with anybody else, it's not a comparison. It's 2 bookends, not even anything in the same realm of reality. So that's not a comparison. That's how good Ray Evernham is. The end.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's like Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson.
Right.
You know, I mean,
exactly.
Look
like
at what
that.
Jimmy has done without Knaus.
Not a damn thing.
Exactly. And that brings me up to another little segment that I wanted to touch on. But like you, I'm really before I stick a fork in it and say it's done, I'm really waiting to see what Ray Evernham is coming out with car wise. That's something I really want to see, because he said it would have to be something that is easily reproduced. So you're not going to see some super duper sophisticated chassis suspension. I think you're going to see something pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There's not going to be, super high speeds. It's going to be more about the competition than it is the top speed. So I'm really excited about that.
Right. Well, speed is irrelevant if the competition is good.
Exactly.
People don't even notice how fast they're going. What they notice is the cars are passing back and forth and being raceable.
Now,
Mitch, as long as we're on that, can I bring up something?
Yeah.
That I have been watching this, and I'm sure that a few people have been watching it. Has anybody taken notice of what Mr. I Got Fired Kyle Larson is doing right now?
Spanking that ass in sprint cars.
The guy is on fire, and nobody has been on fire like this since 1985 Doug Wolfgang in the Weichert's Livestock car. And if anybody wants to look that one up, that one is probably the greatest season in sprint car history, bar none. Better than Kinzer, better than Donnie Schatz, better than any of them. Doug Wolfgang put together a miracle season, and Kyle Larson right now is doing that very thing.
And the thing is, you look back last year, you look back on any interviews that Kyle Larson done, when he talked about NASCAR, it was always kind of, yeah, we're doing real good. We've got this going and we've got that going. When they mentioned sprint cars, he sat up in his chair, his eyes got a sparkle to him, and he said, yeah, we're getting ready to go racing over here at so-and-so. We're going to go down under and run 12 races down there, and we're going to come back over here and run 5 races over here, 6 races over here, and we're just going to run, as our schedule will let us. Well, when the whole said the wrong word thing come about and he got fired, he went back to what he loves to do. He loves dirt track and he loves sprint cars. And he's just been blistering that ass for him on a regular basis, no matter where he goes, no matter who they put him up against. He goes in there and he puts spankings on them left and right.
Right. He went back, and after he got his ass handed to him a few times in a row by Christopher Bell, he went and he worked on his footwork. His footwork has changed, and he's gotten better. And they can say whatever they want to say, but I know this for a fact.
The boy's a wheel man.
He worked on what was important to him, and he worked on what he knew he was getting beat at. And right now he's putting together a season. And I challenge anybody listening, look up 1985. Doug Wolfgang showed up at 115 sprint car races. And in those days, minimum of 50 cars per show. He won the big ones. He won the Kings Royal. He won Knoxville. He won 65 races that he showed up at, and he only missed 3 races. And I mean, as far as when you show up not making the feature, 3 out of 115. That's incredible. Because the competition those days, you could show up and there was 20 guys that could win.
Yeah. And it was a level of competition then, unlike anything they had ever seen before. And
correct.
It's the level that Larson is racing at now is there might not be as many cars show up, but the level of cars is higher.
Correct.
I mean, I think the quality of equipment and the level of driver is deeper in the fields today than it was when Wolfie was racing.
Right.
So, I mean, I absolutely love what he's doing. And I see
it's amazing to me. It is phenomenal.
Somebody done an interview with him the other day, and they said, well, what are you going to do next? And he just grinned. He says, well, we're going to go try to win another one. And he was smiling. He was happy. He's got back to his roots, and he's doing what he wants to do.
Here's another thing, Mitch. It wasn't but 3 months ago his eyes were about out of his head from a flip that he took.
Yeah.
People have forgotten that, and that slows a lot of people down, and that scares a lot of people. And all it did to him was make him faster.
Until you've been upside down in a sprint car, you have no idea what it's like.
It's like hitting a Super Bowl in a racquetball court.
Yep.
That's what it's like.
Sky, ground, sky, ground, sky, ground, sky, ground.
And in between, taking an ass whooping from Mike Tyson every hit.
Yeah. It is. It's and the thing is I think Larson is back in his true element. I think he went to NASCAR chasing the money, but I think once he got there, he realized that, I should have stayed in sprint cars.
I'm not sure if he was chasing the money or if he was doing what he thought what people were telling him he should do.
Yeah. Not one
Steve
interview.
Kinzer tried the same thing. He didn't do shit.
No. Not one interview that I have seen with Larson since he started in NASCAR. Not one interview did he look really happy about anything. He just kind of looked like he was just there going through the motions, you know. I really and truly, I think they done him a favor by firing him.
Yes, they did.
Because it let him go back to doing what he wants to do.
They turned him back into a happy man. That's what they did.
Yep, exactly. And I think more of them guys should look at what he's doing and really think about it, you know. I mean, because not all of them can go back and do that on the level that he's doing it, but they could go back and have fun. You know, Jeremy Mayfield, name that a lot of people have mixed feelings about, depending on which side of the story you believe. Jeremy Mayfield is racing dirt cars here in Georgia.
And having a blast.
He is having a ball. He said, no, he's not making the money that he was in NASCAR. He said, but he don't have to play politics. He don't have to kiss nobody's butt. And he just goes out there and does his absolute best every time he straps on a helmet.
Kenny Wallace does the same thing.
Yep. And Schrader, I mean, you look at all of them that have went back to their roots, you know. I mean, they're having fun and they're doing what they need to do to have fun. And that's just get out there and get it done.
Right.
But
then
now
there's another thing. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You got something else. So
I got a shout out to, you know, my buddy Davy Jones. Well, they're back at Indiana Sprint. Well, he lives in Indiana now, and they've won the last couple nights on the Indiana Sprint Week, which is no easy task. So shout out to Davy for having a good week.
That is probably some of the wildest talent I've ever seen up there.
Yeah, Leary won 2 in a row, so they're doing well. They're backing up their championship from last year.
You know, Indiana, that area, they have produced some really, really good sprint car drivers over the years.
That is a fact.
Now, you know, we were talking at the drag strip the other night. Stephen was talking about some of the drivers that have run at Brainerd, and he said, you know, they have always said that if you can go to Brainerd and win, you can go anywhere and win. And that Brainerd that group around this area was really tough in drag racing. And I thought, you know, it's funny that you mentioned that, because when you go back and you look at dirt track racing, it's the same thing. You've got guys out there. Dale McDowell comes to mind. The Overton brothers, both of them. A lot of these guys are some of the best in the business at the top level of their sport, and they're from right here in this area.
Right.
There must be something in the water about Northwest Georgia, Southeast Tennessee that makes good race car drivers, because we've produced a bunch of them around here, and it's not just in dirt track. You know, you got Bill Elliott over there across the mountain over in Dawsonville, and Chase is following in his footsteps. And then you've got Superman, Jonathan Davenport. He's from over in Blairsville. And you got a lot of drivers from this area that no matter what level of racing they're at, they've succeeded and soared to the top of their class. So I think it's something that people need to start taking notice of.
There is something to be said for that. And just like out here, some of the guys that we used to race against was Billy Moyer, Sr. Scott Bloomquist was from right here in SoCal with us when we got started at the same time. And he told us he was going to make it. We didn't believe him because we didn't think he was that good. But sure as shit, there he is.
Yep. And, you know, he's a different individual. I mean,
I've always
been
a different individual.
And he is he's different, but he makes it work for him. So, but now
I think that age is starting to win with him.
It is. Health is turned into a big issue with him. So,
yes,
I think a lot of us face that task. You know, But real quick, I want to jump back on this. We were talking about Jimmy Johnson a little bit ago and how he has sucked without Chad Knaus. But they have published a list of drivers, 5 drivers that everyone is saying is on the short list to replace Jimmy Johnson. Here's the list of drivers. William Byron. Why he would go from the 24 car to the 48 car, I really don't know. But he is on the list. Chase Briscoe. Now, he's hooked up with Stuart Haas, and he's been kicking their butt in Xfinity, but he's on the list. Eric Jones, who's with Gibbs. Brad Keselowski, who is in his last year with Penske, and they say that Austin Cindric is going to be taking over the 2 car because Cindric's daddy is pumping a bunch of money into that team, so he's wanting his son to move up. And then the last one on the list is Tyler Reddick. Now you got William Byron, Chase Briscoe, Eric Jones, Brad Keselowski, or Tyler Reddick. Who's your pick out of those 5 to jump in the 48 next year?
Matt DiBenedetto.
Well, there is talk
Tyler
that
Reddick is going to.
Matt is in contract talk. Matt is in contract talks with Wood Brothers about staying in a 21 car for next year.
Yeah, I know, but I just like the guy because of his heart. But I think Tyler Reddick is going to end up in the 48 car.
Who?
Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, he has
who
made a name for himself this year.
Right.
I don't see Keselowski going into it. I don't see him and Rick Hendricks being able to G-haul.
No. He's burned.
I don't see Eric Jones getting in it. And I don't see Tony Stewart turning loose of Chase Briscoe.
Nope. That's why I think Tyler Reddick's going.
Tyler Reddick's the first one on that. When I read his name, I went, "Yep, that's him."
Yep, I agree.
But we'll see. We'll see how that shakes out and how that works out.
And I find that funny because you didn't even run that list by me until just right now.
Oh, I know. I kept it secret.
Yeah, but that's not even a question. Tyler Reddick's going to be there.
Yeah,
but man, I want to see. Right. I want to see Matt DiBenedetto get in a really good car that's got several cars on a team. I just like the guy. The guy's got. He's got so much heart.
I agree. Tell you what, hold that thought, Chuck. We're going to step out, take a quick break, and we'll be right back. It's the Mitch Walker Show with your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and my very special guest, Mr. Chuck Becker, and you'll find us exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
If you're a racer and you've not yet heard of Raceworks Incorporated in Berlin, Connecticut, you'll be hearing about them soon. Raceworks is Connecticut's official LFR and Troyer repair shop and fabricator for all your modified chassis needs. Raceworks Incorporated is your one-stop race shop covering all of your modified needs. From a complete roller to fabrication of new body panels for that beginning of year update or for an after-race weekend repair, Raceworks Incorporated has you covered. Raceworks Incorporated, also specializing in prep, chassis setup, shock testing, and interior fabrication. Raceworks Incorporated is proudly owned and operated by New England Antique Racers Association inductee Ed Flemke. That's Raceworks Incorporated, located in Berlin, Connecticut. Give them a call at 860-829-1312. That's 860-829-1312. Raceworks Incorporated. Tell all your racing friends. You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
It's the Mitch Walker Show, talking racing and nothing but racing. Occasionally we do touch on racing politics, but that's just to get you riled up. Now back to Mitch, the Dr. Walker.
All right, welcome back. And boy, that re-entry was spot on when it's me and Becker. But a lot of you don't know, but I wanna tell this story because I want people to know who my guest is tonight. I mean, other than beside the fact that he's Chuck Becker. We were talking with Sandy Woolridge, Shelley Woolridge, a couple of years ago. And we were talking about a program that she had going that she put on every year, like a big expo for racers on the West Coast. And we had talked about young and up-and-coming drivers. And I said that I would be happy to come to California and sit down and do seminars with all these drivers on how to do interviews and how to present themselves in a professional manner and to do an interview with just about any host that they can get on with. And in this conversation, there was a young man popped up and he mentioned his racing his race car, and in the same sentence, he mentioned all three of his sponsors. And I said, there he is. That's the man that gets what we're saying. And I said, I want you on my show. Little did I realize at that time what good friends him and I would become. And that the driver that done that was Chuck Becker. And he understood what it takes to make a sponsor happy. And it's constantly presenting yourself and your team in a professional manner and always keeping your sponsors on the tip of your tongue. And he done an awesome job at it. And that's how me and Chuck got together and how we met. So somebody had just sent me a message on Facebook and wanted to know how long I had known Becker. So I just had to tell the story on how him and I got together.
It's been 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, it has been a while. I know
Right.
The expo thing kind of fell through the last couple of years, and I really hated that because I thought that was a really good thing that she had going there.
Right. Actually, that was a little bit off, Mitch, if I can correct you.
Sure.
We actually met it was a thing that Scott Delosio put out wanting advertisement from the sprint car guys for his announcing at Paris Auto Speedway. And I said, well, I don't know about the sprint car guys, but for the modifieds, and I went on a list, and you happened to be on that post. And I listed all of my sponsors. And that's how you ended up getting hooked up with Shelley, because we were on the first time I came on your show, we talked about Thumbs Up for a Cure, the Kids with Cancer, and we talked about PRE and some of my different sponsorships and Lucas Oil, different things. And then we talked about Shelley putting on this expo and what she was trying to do. And then we decided that I was going to come back on, and I started out the next show that I did by actually just starting the show as an approach to a sponsorship. And then when I got done with it, I said, now, if anybody's listening to that, that's how you want to approach it.
Now, Chuck, you mentioned this the other night. We were talking on one of the Facebook posts, and you mentioned a name of somebody I needed to get on the show, Alyssa Smith, I think it was. Is that right?
Yes, sir. That's right. She's 18 years old, just graduated high school. The girl has been racing since she was a little itty bitty thing, whether it be motorcycles, go-karts. She's worked her way up through street stocks, and now she is in an A mod, and she's doing really well. But she is a wonderful person. The whole family is just they're racers, and you really need to get Alyssa on. She'll make you laugh.
Well, that's what we need. I like
Absolutely
laughing.
agree.
And, I think, Chuck, really and truly, we need more people in the racing world that lets their personality come out. They don't hold back. They don't try to be all prim and proper. They just have fun, and that's what we do here on my show anyway. We have fun, and that's one of the things that I love in a guest is somebody that likes to laugh and cut up and have a good time.
Right. And I know we're running out of time tonight, but I'll definitely come back on soon so we can continue on some of this stuff.
Well, we've still got a little bit. He hadn't started counting me down yet. So,
Okay.
One of the things that you had touched on, and I've had a young man named Jeff Lambert. He'll be on next week with a reoccurring thing that we're going to be doing on sponsorship. Jeff has put together a program that, much like what Shelley and I had talked about doing at the expo, he does this online. He has a thing called boot camp to where you sign up for it. He helps you with your interview, your presentation, writing your proposals. He helps you with all of this, and the level of involvement that you get from him depends on how much you're willing to invest in it. And I don't mean just money, I mean time and effort. But he has done an amazing job in drag racing, helping these guys pick up sponsors. Plus, he does a thing called Armed Forces Racing. And he's been racing a 63 Galaxy for a couple of years. That's how I got in touch with him, because I fell in love with his race car. But he started doing a thing because he's a former Navy guy like me. And he started doing a thing called a DD-214. It was a Mustang that somebody had donated. They put a motor together, nothing exotic, just something pretty basic, stout, but basic. They put it together, and they take veterans and put them in DD-214 in the Mustang, and they take them to the drag strip, and they let them make passes. And it kind of gives veterans, a way to reconnect once they come back home. And it's something to give them, I guess what you could say, a way just to get back into life,
Right. Mitch, I did not know that. I did not know you were Navy.
Yeah. 8 years.
Okay, because my youngest son right now is in Great Lakes.
Yeah, I know. Great mistakes.
Yeah, that's the place.
That's what we used to call it. Great
Yeah,
mistakes.
he's in school. They won't let him off the base right now because of the COVID stuff, but whatever.
Yeah, it's my last duty station was Seal Beach Weapons.
Right.
I got out. We went up to Ascot one night, and I seen sprint cars, and I went, oh my God, we got to have one of these. They give me $7,500 to move back to Georgia on, and I bought a race car. And the rest, they say, is history. But
you were just talking about Mr. Lambert. You get out of it what you put in it, in any aspect of racing.
Exactly. He has been Chuck. He has been an inspiration to me on so many different levels. This man had a hell of a job, a daytime job, and he just raced for fun. And he got passionate about this, wanting to help fellow veterans out. And he was trying to figure out a way to finance it and to put the program together. And it got to the point to where he was like, if I'm going to do this, I've got to do this wholehearted. He quit his day job and he devoted himself to Armed Forces Racing. And he has taken this whole program to the next level. And he does this. Don't charge a veteran a thing to do this. They just go up, they have a good time, and they get some experience going down the drag strip. And he's talking about bringing it to Brainerd. later on this year. And I said, man, I would love to have you at Brainerd. I want to see that big Galaxy go down the racetrack. But the man, he is really passionate, and he's put a lot of work into this. He's written a book on sponsorship and how to go about it. He's looked at the mistakes. He's talked with the businesses that sponsor race cars. I mean, he's put a lot of effort and hard work into this, and he's going to be a reoccurring guest on the show. We're going to try to get him on like once a month and get him on, come on, do a 20-minute segment and talk about different sponsorship things and his program, the boot camp, and then how you can move on up through his program. He's got some really good ideas, and he's just trying to figure out a way to get them out there to the racers. And I told him, I said, I'll help you all I can because I believe in what you're doing. And I know that the effort he puts into this Armed Forces Racing and this sponsorship deal is part of the way that he funds Armed Forces Racing. So it's kind of like, I'm not just helping him, I'm helping other veterans by getting him exposure. Right. So that's what I'm all about. I mean, I'm all about helping the little guy, And
right.
Next time you talk to this Alyssa Smith, tell her I want her on my show.
Oh, I definitely will. I'll send her a message. Probably when we hang up. So
tell her to send me a friend's request because I'd never be able to spell her name. But we'll make it happen one way or the other. Now
the other
we're getting down close to the end of the show. We still got a few minutes left, but so you're looking at what, a little bit later on in August, you're going to be running one of those challenge cars?
I'm going to be running a Challenge Cup car August 29th, provided nothing changes. I haven't heard of a cancellation yet for August 15th for Paris, but I keep waiting for that any day. But if it doesn't get canceled, I'll be racing Paris in the modified August 15th. Right now, Paris has a thing going because it's been kind of boring and they're looking for things to do. And I need people's help here because what they have, it started with 16 drivers. My first round match hasn't came up yet. I'm in match number 8, but it's a vote for the car or the driver or whatever. And if you get the most votes in the first round, then you go to the second round, kind of like match racing, but it's just match voting on Facebook. So it's on the Paris Auto Speedway website, and I'm in match 8. I don't even know who I'm up against, but they've had the first 4 rounds so far. So 4 people have moved on and 4 have been eliminated, and we're in the 5th one right now. So when mine comes up, be happy if you guys all voted for me. That would be really good. And then when the next round comes up, vote for me again.
Oh, we'll be steady voting. I'll get my wife to vote for you.
Yeah, right on. But that's what we got going. So
now I know with the state of things in California the way they are, and you guys are really really hurting as far as getting some racing done out there. But is there any light at the end of the tunnel that's not a train?
It just depends on what the governor does. It really does. The Orange Show is going to race this week, right here locally, and it's going to be their season opener. But from what I'm understanding, it may be the only race they run this year. But that way, the way he's looking at it, it'll at least keep the streak alive for how many years in a row the place has had a race. So this Saturday night they are racing. There will be no fans in the stands. It's strictly going in the pits and racing and going home.
Now, have they looked at getting someone to televise the event?
Madeira has been doing that. They go on MAV TV, especially with the junior late models and the late models. And that's exactly what they've been doing is televising and, some of the dirt tracks around, but I do not know what the Orange Show's got going. No, I haven't heard anything about that. But a lot of the low budget TV and stuff goes to the dirt tracks.
I know we done the first race we done back at Boyd's. They wouldn't let us have fans, and we had dirtondirt.com carry that race. And that was pretty cool because I had never announced on Dirt on Dirt. And it was me and a guy named Brandon Godfrey. And me and him, we're good friends. We feed off each other, kind of like you and I do. And we were having a ball announcing the race, and in between the races, we were filling the time best we could, doing a thing, tweet your seat on Twitter. People were tweeting the picture from their seat of what they were watching. And that was just a ton of fun. We had a ball with it, and it was just something to announce a race with no fans in the stands, that was really difficult. And I don't know if I ever want to do that again.
The good side of it, we'll go with the positive side here. The positive side is anything that's going on, people are going to flock to right now because they're desperate for anything to happen.
Yep.
The people are looking for something good right now. They're needing something good. There's too much bad going on in the world, and anything that's a getaway is a good thing.
It is, and you know, it's sad that it's that way, but hopefully we will get it picked up. Well, Chuck, buddy, I want you to hang tight with me. Don't hang up. But we're getting down kind of close to the end of the show, and I want to rewrap things. I would like everyone to please keep Mike Head, the head man, in your prayers. He is going through some bad health issues right now. Leon Sells as well. Both of those are legendary drivers here in the Southeast. They've been around forever, and they're living legends. They have been in racing for a long time, and they attend all the events that they can, as long as their health will let them. But both of them are really hurting right now, and they could use a lot of prayers. And I know that prayers work. You know, I mean, we've seen it many, many times. Look at Ryan Newman. You know, there was everybody and their brother was praying for Ryan when that happened at Daytona. And hopefully we can get Mike Head and Leon Sells some prayers as they battle this stuff that's really, really tough nowadays. I've got some stuff that's going to be coming out on Pioneer pages on Garhoffa's website, the Georgia Auto Racing Hall of Fame Association. We've got some new articles that'll be coming out about some local legends on there. So if you can go to garhoffa.com and check that out, join. I think it's $25 a year. You get 4 issues of Pioneer pages, and it's filled with articles and stories and pictures about the legends in the sport of dirt racing here in the South, and not just dirt racing, but motorsports in general. The next issue will have a thing on Dale Singleton, who we've done a show about him with his brother Spencer. Dale was wanting to be the first man to win the Daytona 200 and come back and win the Daytona 500. As a privateer, he went down and won it in 79, came back and won it again in 81 at Daytona. A privateer against the Goliaths of the motorsports world, Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Dale put it on them. But there's an article coming out in Pioneer pages about him. There'll be another one about Leon Brindle. He'll be coming up real soon. So check those out if you can. And make sure you tune in here every Monday night, 9:30. It's been fun, but we got to wrap this up. I want you to remember 2 things. Take somebody racing with you this weekend, no matter where you go. And remember, you can't change the whole world, but you can touch just one life. It's been the Mitch Walker Show with me, your host, me, Mitch Walker. They call me the doctor, and my very special guest, Mr. Chuck Becker. And you'll find us exclusively right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Y'all ready for this?
You've been listening to The Mitch Walker Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. The Mitch Walker Show is a copyrighted feature of the Performance Motorsports Network, a member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, and may not be saved, reproduced, replicated, podcast, duplicated, or rebroadcast on any media without the express written permission from the Performance Motorsports Network. The opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of the Performance Motorsports Network, Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or marketing partners. Go to the Performance Motorsports Network by clicking on the links available on www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com or on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Performance Motorsports Network. Download the PMN app for your smartphone or go to TuneIn, Google Play, or any of the other popular platforms, or you can go to the App Store and pick up the free app there. Be listening again next week for the latest motorsports news, in-depth coverage of the week's racing events, and compelling race talk. For the Mitch Walker Show, this is Big Mike.